you guys can see, I'm already in the Webflow designer. I have a blank project pulled up, and I'm going to start by, if I refer back to our website right here, by making the nav bar. So I'm going to drag in, actually no, what am I doing? Not a div block, haha, a nav bar, because that's the first thing, right? I am going to give this nav bar a class of, well, nav bar. Set the height to 12 VH. Now VH stands for viewport height. Viewport is basically what the user can see. It's like their screen size. So this is just saying 12% of the user's screen size. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to give this a background color. And I'm going to save it as a swatch that we have right here. Okay. And then I'm going to give this a display of flex. Oh, make it horizontal, sorry. There we go. The next thing that I am going to do is go inside this nav bar, go to this container, and basically just get rid of it. I'm going to move all this stuff inside of the container into a div block. And I'm just going to get rid of the container itself. I'm going to call this div block a nav, okay? There, I'm going to give this a width of 90%, so it's taking up 90% of its parent element, which is this big nav bar, right? Then I am going to drag in my logo, which is right here, put this inside of here, and I'm going to have the brand, let's see, nav logo. Gonna give this a width of 70 pixels, so that's relatively small. Okay. The next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into this menu button, click on this, right? And then I'm actually going to delete this icon right here because we want to make an animation, right? To make that animation, sorry, I have to click away. To make that animation, we can't use the icon itself. We have to make our own out of a couple lines. So let me get rid of that. Okay, here's what I'm going to do now. Inside of this menu button, I'm going to drag in a div. Call this a div burger div. Now in web development, the menu button is usually called the hamburger, hence burger. Gonna give this div a width of 35 pixels. Okay. Oh, I should probably get rid of this display hidden. That's basically saying that you can't see it, so I'm just gonna show it. I should have done that in the starting. There. So I'm gonna give this burger there a height. And then I'm gonna go inside of this burger div, add another div inside of this, and call this burger line. I'm gonna give this burger line a width of 100% too of the burger div, right? So it would be 35 pixels, and I'll give it a height of 5 pixels. I am also gonna give this a background color of white so that we can actually see it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of border radius just so that we can have it be a little bit curved around the edges. Okay, I'm just going to duplicate that a couple times to make 3 lines, right? Except they're all squished together. So all I'm going to do is give them a little bit of margin on the bottom. Maybe a little bit more margin. Maybe on the top and the bottom there. 5 pixels? Yeah, that doesn't look too nice actually. What am I doing? Okay, let's stick to 3. Okay, there we go. Now the next thing that I am going to do is I'm going to hide this nav menu, these links, the one with the links. If you go back here, we can see that our nav menu is hidden inside of this navigation thing. So when I click on the navigation bar, then it shows up. So I'm just gonna go back here and to kind of set this to display none. That way it only shows up when we click that button. Okay, now before we get to making that animation work, let's start by giving this icon a little bit of a whirl, right? So right now, if I hover over it, it does a little bit of a, yeah, it rotates, right? So I'm just going to make an animation, right? Going to call this, yeah, mouse hover. So when you hover on it, call this animation logo rotate. There we go. Okay, now I want it to rotate from 0 degrees, right, all the way up to, where's rotate there, all the way up to 785 degrees, which I know sounds like a weird number, but I'll explain in a second how that works. And then I'll bring it back down to 720 degrees. There, let's play through that. Okay, that's a bit too fast for my liking. So I'm going to do 35. And you can adjust this however you like. I just, yeah, there. There, that's what I like. So, okay. Now, the reason that I'm setting this to 785 and 720 here is because, well, okay, for, if you think about in terms of angles, right? So like 360 degrees is like a full circle, right? 720 is 2 full circles. So I'm just going like a little bit ahead of a full circle. So like almost a third circle, but then I go back to the first circle, if that makes any sense. So like that. So you're almost turning another time, but then you go back to your second circle. Okay, there. Save. Now what else? Let's hit preview. There we go. I think that works nicely. There. Now the next thing, and perhaps the most important thing about a menu, is of course the menu button when you click on it. So how do we activate that, right? How do we see what it'll look like? Well, we go to the settings panel. So click on the nav bar, then click on the settings panel and hit, well, if you hit show, it's gonna hide. And if you hit hide, it's gonna show it there. Now, what this is showing us is that, like, it's showing us that this menu button, when you click on it in tablet mode, this shows up. But we also want our menu to be available on desktop mode, right? So I want it to always appear, so that way I can just change the styles here too. There we go. Okay, now what do I want to do? I want the menu to fill the page, disable scroll offset. That way, like, it won't move around, the page won't move around. So it's like somebody tries to scroll while they're looking at the menu, they can't. Okay. Now, let's start by changing the styles a little bit. So this menu button, I want to get rid of this background. So I'm just going to make it transparent. Then I want to take our nav menu, which is this thing right here. And I actually want to rename this class nav menu. There we go. And I'm going to set this to a height of 88 VH. Now 88 VH because, well, if our nav bar is 12 VH, then 100 minus 12 is 88, right? So this nav menu takes up the rest of the page. So, okay, and then I'm gonna change the color of this to this dark blue swatch that we already have. Now, and I'm also gonna give this a bit of padding. So padding 70 pixels, padding on the left, 70 pixels padding on the top. There we go. Now, obviously we want to be able to see these nav links, right? So I'm just going to give that a class 2, nav link. And then I'm going to set this nav link to be quite big, actually, 60 pixels, and I'll change the font. Montserrat. Let's make it a bit bold there, and I'll make it white so we can see it. Okay. I'll give all of these the same class too. So nav link. Okay, there. I also want to give each of these a bit of a space at the bottom, so like some sort of margin, because they're pushed up very close to each other. There we go. Now, yeah, this looks fine to me. You can change the text inside of here, but I don't really have anything. Like if we go into this one, for example, the demo, right? If you click on it, different thing shows up, but we're gonna do the same animations, and you can always change the text to whatever you want. So I'm just gonna leave that like that. What's the next thing I want to do? Okay, so I also want to, again, as you just saw, let me pull that up again. Sorry, that went too quick. So the color changes as you go through this. So what I'm gonna do is we go to the where you see the class, right? We're gonna hit this drop down menu right here, and we pick the hover state. So when you hover on it, what do you want it to look like, right? So when I hover on it, I want the color to be this kind of light blue, like that. There, as you can see, it's in action right now, but make that, and want to make it a little bit bigger, right? The size of it, and then I just want that to transition neatly. So like right now, if we do it, right? If we go into the mode and then we do it, it's really like junky, and I don't want it to be like that. So what we do is we go scroll down on the nav link, right? And at the bottom, you should see this panel called transitions. So what are we transitioning? We want to change the font color, right? And I'm gonna have this last a little bit longer. You can play around with these settings. I just want it to last, like take some time to get there. And font size, again, 400 milliseconds. There we go. Now if we click on it, there we go. That looks good to me. Now, one thing you guys might also notice is that we don't have an animation right now going, but we're gonna get to that in a second. If I open this up again, you guys can see, there we go. Okay, so okay, so this is the animation we're going to be doing, right? I'm just going to go back here and let's get started on doing that. Okay, now the first thing that I want to do is I want to go into my interactions panel. I actually want to select this menu button first. Okay, gonna make a mouse click trigger. Gonna call this, what do we call this? Menu open. Menu open. There. Now, when it's opened, I want this. Okay, so here's how it's gonna work. When it's opened, if we go back here and we click on it again, the second line fully disappears, right? And then we see the third line come down and rotate, and then we see the top line come down and rotate, and then we see the bottom line go up and rotate, right? So that's the effect that we want to have. So here's how we do that. First thing, of course, is we want to make this this second line go away. Like we want its opacity to be reduced. So I'm going to hit selected element, right? Because we only want this one to go away. Not all of them with the same class, because all of them have the same class of burger line, right? So I just want this middle one to go away. And then I'm going to select the first one. You have to be careful in this part, making sure you select the right ones. And then I'm going to hit burger. Okay, so what I wanted to do is I want the thing to rotate 45 degrees like that. Make sure to hit selected element again. 45 degrees, and I want it to move 3 pixels. These are calculated, sorry, 3 degrees. What am I saying? No, yeah, 3 pixels. Sorry, I'm still in the rotate thing. Okay, let's hit move, and then now let's move 3 pixels. Okay. They're gonna put the move after the rotate like that. Okay, there we go. Then what I want to do is select this third one, and also have that rotate negative 45 degrees this time. Make sure you select element, right? I'm gonna place this after this, right? And then I want it to move up a little bit, so I'm gonna hit move negative 15 pixels there and place that right after that. Okay, so let's play through this. There we go. I think I just have to, let's see. That looks a bit weird to me. Well, obviously, okay, let me play that again. Obviously, it didn't go back to how it was before, but we'll fix that in just a second. I'm just talking about how it looks a little bit weird. Let's see. Yeah, I think I moved this one up too much. Let's try now. Yeah, that looks better to me. Okay, I'm gonna hit save. Now, the next thing that I want to do is, of course, have it go back to its original state when we click away. So when let me go back here. I'm gonna hit hide there. When I click on it, I want it to go to this position, but when I click again, I want it to go back to its initial state. So how I do that is by going back to this interactions, and I'm going to make another animation, but if you look closely here, it says on second click, which is what we want to change. So on first click, do this, on second click, do this, right? So I'm going to start an animation, and I'm going to call this one menu close. Okay, now I'm going to take, I'm basically going to do this in opposite. So if we go back to menu open, right? First we start by reducing the opacity of the second line, and then we rotate and move the first one, and then we rotate and move the last one, right? Well, for this menu close, I'm going to do everything in the opposite. So I'm going to move the third line back to its position, then the first line back to its position, and then bring back the opacity of the second line. So everything, this part's relatively easy. Actually, wait, no, that's not right. I have to select the last one, right? This part's easy because I just have to set everything back to 0 again. So 0 pixels. Remember to select selected element. Or actually, no, yeah, selected element, sorry, yeah. And then I'm gonna hit rotate, right? And then also set this one to 0 degrees. Then I'm gonna select the first line. Gonna set, move this also down to 0 pixels. Selected element, do the same thing again for rotate, so 0 degrees of rotation. And then last but not least, the second line, gonna bring that opacity back to 100. Selected element, place this at the end, save. Now that should work. So let's click on this, let's click on this. There we go. So if we hover on these animations here, everything looks good. Now the last thing that we might want to do is maybe play with the animation settings a little bit. So like how this nav bar comes in, right? Like right now it's coming in linearly, right? But maybe when we want to add a little bit of bounce to it, like we are over here. A little bit of bounce, right? So how we do that is by going to this nav bar, hitting the settings panel, right? And I'm just gonna make this a little bit longer. Again, totally up to your preference, however you want to do it. And then I'm going to hit ease out back as our easing. So again, I've played with this for a long time, so I know like which one I like best. But if you go through these, you'll figure out whichever one you like. So look through that there. So ease out back for both of them. And now let me try it. There we go. Yeah, this looks good to me. So we have this rotating logo. We have this beautiful animating nav bar. These grow when you hover on them. Everything looks... Now the last thing that I kind of want to fix is to change the color of this body. I can make it the blue again, because when the nav bar comes down, it makes that weird looking, the white just looks out of place. Okay, so it's there. So we made a rotating logo, something that rotates on hover. We have a beautiful nav bar, right, that drops in with a little bit of a bounce and animates, right? So it does like a cross animation, right? And then these nav links grow when you hover on them. I don't know, everything looks pretty good to me. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember to follow me on Instagram and check out my other videos. Okay, I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.